Humans are opportunists, and they're going to use any invention for personal gain and to gain power over others that they can. Greed is part of our human nature, and that's what we need to be aware of and prepared for, because it's persistent and it's part of everything that we do. There has been much talk of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, calling them Ponzi schemes, and even going as far as to call them the biggest pyramid schemes in history. If you look at the structure of our society, you will see that almost anything can be described in this way. For example, our traditional financial system. When the government needs money, they just get a loan from the Federal Reserve. Then the Fed prints that money, giving it to the Treasury, who in turn gives the Fed a promise to repay. We call these bonds. These bonds are then sold to other countries and our own pension funds, and the money is used for government spending. This is why in the US we're over $30 trillion in debt, and that debt has interest. To pay this interest, the government repeats the process and puts us more and more in debt. But what happens when we can no longer borrow money and we can't pay the interest? Well, the bonds or IOUs just become worthless and all that money just disappears like a classic Ponzi scheme. Pensions only work because younger generations keep putting money in for older generations to use. But what happens when more money gets pulled out than what goes in? The whole thing collapses, and insurance is the same way. Because as older generations need more healthcare, younger generations have to pay more for it. But what happens when the insurance costs more than the general healthcare costs? If new customers can't put more in than old customers are using, then the whole thing falls apart, and that's the classic definition of a Ponzi scheme. Our whole society is built like a house of cards, but the trick to investing is figuring out which cards are going to stay standing the longest. All cards are flimsy and will eventually fall because all things are returned to dust, but some things will stand on the backs of others for a time. Even the stock market, especially the stock market, is a speculative Ponzi scheme that continues to go up until more people are selling than buying, and then huge piles of money just go up into smoke. Of course, the crypto market is no different. It's just a more modern way of playing the same old game. And if the stock market's not a Ponzi scheme, then neither is crypto, because a Ponzi scheme is a fraudulent investment scheme in which returns are paid to earlier investors using the investments of more recent investors. Bitcoin is not an investment scheme. It's a decentralized digital currency that is based on decentralized networks of computers that work together to validate and record transactions on a public digital ledger called a blockchain. That's a mouthful, but Bitcoin is not controlled by any single entity, and it's not designed to make profit for any specific group of people. Its value is determined by the market based on the supply and the demand for it. If Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme just because if people stop believing in it, then it's going to collapse, then literally so is everything else that we've built our whole society upon. CBDCs are digital versions of traditional fiat currencies that are issued and backed by the central banks. While they do have the potential to offer several benefits such as increased financial inclusion and faster and cheaper financial transactions, they also come with a number of risks and dangers that need to be carefully considered. One potential danger of CBDCs is their potential to be used to exert control over the economy and individual financial transactions. Because CBDCs are issued and controlled by central banks, they have the ability to track and monitor all financial transactions made using CBDCs. This will inevitably lead to a loss of privacy for individuals and a reduction in economic freedom. Also, CBDCs could pose a risk to financial stability if they're not implemented properly. If the central bank makes a mistake or there's technical issues with the CBDC system, it could lead to significant disruptions in the financial system and potentially even financial collapses. CBDCs have the potential to be used to oppress citizens in a number of ways. Here are just a few examples. Monitoring financial transactions. Because CBDCs are issued and controlled by the central banks, they have the ability to track and monitor all of the transactions that you make from day to day. This could potentially be used by governments to monitor the financial decisions and activities of their citizens, which could be used to suppress dissent and limit individual freedoms. This could also be used for censorship. Governments could potentially use CBDCs to censor certain type of financial transactions. For example, they could block individuals from using CBDCs to make donations to political organizations or to purchase certain types of content. They could also use it to exert financial control over you. Governments could use CBDCs to exert control over the economy and individual financial transactions. For example, they could use CBDCs to implement what would effectively be a tax on people's savings, and this could potentially lead to a reduction in consumer spending. They could even make your savings expire if you don't use it by a certain date, forcing you to consume and making it impossible to save money. Furthermore, this could lead to a total loss of privacy. The use of CBDCs could also lead to a total loss of privacy for individuals because all financial transactions made by CBDCs are tracked and recorded. This information could potentially be accessed by the government, and this information could be used to target and oppress certain groups of people. It's important to note that these risks and dangers of CBDCs are not guaranteed to occur right away, and would depend on specific circumstances and actions of the governments implementing them. So while things might seem okay at first, it's only a matter of time until someone sees the opportunity to use this technology in the wrong way for personal gain. This technology has the potential to command ultimate power, and ultimate power corrupts ultimately. Human nature and greed will inevitably see this power used to take away our freedoms if we give the control of this power over to human hands. If Bitcoin and decentralized cryptocurrency fail and die, then this tech will live on under the power of our human government. And cryptocurrency will live on in the form of a CBDC as our freedoms die and we live our lives as serfs under the rule of the all-powerful machine that is our centralized governing body. When the government inevitably introduces the CBDC and forces us all to use it, then the question that everyone should be asking is not whether Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are a scam, but whether you have enough to opt out of participating in the Federal Reserve System. Once the government controls our money, they will control free speech. Because if you can turn off somebody's ability to buy food because of something that they said, then you can control the words that comes out of every single person's mouth. Blockchain and cryptocurrency are here to stay. The question is, do you want to be using a decentralized, permissionless, and trustless system run by your peers, or would you rather use the centralized, programmable, and confiscatable currency such as a CBDC that's run by the central government? Cryptocurrency is not perfect, and there are and will continue to be scammers in this space. But we need this to work, or else we're all going to end up being slaves, and saving is going to be a thing of the past, because the government will just make your money expire, and you will never be able to stop working just to keep up. So let me know in the comments, do you guys think that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is a scam, or do you think that it's the only way to escape the ultimate scam that is the financial system that we were all born into? Either way, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.